What I am saying is that there is a reason a physical attack is considered a crime and offensive words are not. Look, there are going to be people who make offensive comments that people decide we don't want to work with them. Okay, fair enough. But in Hollywood, it often feels like a physical assault can be forgivable, but offensive words are not. Joining me now is Caitlyn Becker, who's covered the Osbourne and Roseanne scandals as a senior reporter for DailyMail.com. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it. What do you make of my argument here?
First of all, I forgot a lot of those situations. And when you laid them out there, and I covered them, you know, like I was in the thick of it with someone like Naomi Campbell. And you really do kind of forget how many times people like Naomi Campbell or Sean Penn or Alec Baldwin have gotten into seemingly the same or similar situations. So it does raise the question that I think you're posing here. But I think to push back a little bit on the point that you're making, well,
please
push back and kind of agree with it at the same time. There are consequences for crimes. Shoving someone, assaulting someone, hitting someone, that is a crime. And a lot of these people, as you listed, were charged, pled guilty, and that worked its way through our fined courts in this nation. But saying mean things and having bad opinions that other people don't agree with or want to work with, there's no real tangible consequence to that. So cancel culture, for lack of a better term, or losing your job or people not wanting to work with you is oftentimes the only way you're going to see recourse against racist thoughts or comments or opinions about the Holocaust. I mean, you named Gina Carano there a minute ago, and the story with that was essentially that last tweet was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, the company was looking to get rid of her reportedly for a while there. She had come out as anti-mask. She had propagated the lie that there was election fraud. It was not just one isolated incident. And because these things are not crimes, there really isn't any other way to right the wrong, so to speak.
But I guess my concern is that then makes Hollywood the judge and jury, right? And again, this is the inherent problem with cancel culture. And again, I'm not saying that therefore X person or Y person shouldn't have gotten booted. People don't want to work with someone. It's their choice to say, I don't want to work with someone. I am concerned about the standards that are set in Hollywood. And part of it, to me, and again, you know this world better than I do, but part of it, to me, seems to be defined by how important is that person to Hollywood, and is that person a darling? And that could mean both in terms of their career, it could mean based on their gender, it could be based on their beliefs, et cetera. And it seems to me that all of those things end up factoring into who Hollywood decides to forgive, someone like Will Smith, who they all want to forgive, and they clearly have, versus someone like Gina Carano. Again, and it's not apples to apples, but the notion that Hollywood gets to make these decisions without judge or jury, to me, is, I would argue, it's more concerning rather than less in your point, which is interesting about the criminal justice system versus Hollywood justice.
I think that it's really, really crucial to remember that Hollywood is a business at its core. It is here to make money. So and that really is, to your point, they do become judge and jury because they know that losing a Will Smith out of the next blockbuster film could mean a loss of big revenue.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.